The courtroom, usually a bastion of solemnity, was thick with the scent of stale coffee and barely concealed judgment. Judge Harrison, a man whose stern demeanor was legendary and whose patience was notoriously thin, glared down from his bench. Before him stood Marcus Thorne, a young man who looked barely old enough to drive, let alone defend himself. Marcus wore an oversized, slightly rumpled hoodie, faded jeans, and sneakers. His wild, untamed dreadlocks framed a face that, to the judge, screamed troublemaker. He was there for a minor public disturbance charge, a misunderstanding involving a street performance and a grumpy shop owner. Marcus had insisted on representing himself. "Mr. Thorne," Judge Harrison drawled, his voice dripping with condescension, "do you truly believe you are equipped to navigate the complexities of legal procedure? This isn't a playground squabble." He leaned forward, adjusting his spectacles. "Perhaps you'd prefer to call a recess so you can consult with your PlayStation?" A snicker rippled through the gallery. Marcus remained outwardly calm, though a flicker of something unreadable passed through his dark eyes. "Your Honor," he began, his voice surprisingly deep and articulate, "with all due respect, I believe I am perfectly capable. I have reviewed the statutes, the precedents, and the prosecution's evidence." Judge Harrison scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "Precedents? Young man, I've seen more precedents in my morning paper than you've seen in your lifetime. Let's not waste the court's time. Get on with it, or I'll assign you a public defender, and we'll wrap this up before your curfew." More snickers. The prosecutor, a smirking woman named Miss Davies, looked bored. Marcus nodded slowly. "Very well, Your Honor. Prosecution, please call your first witness." The trial proceeded, and that's when the cracks in Judge Harrison's preconceived notions began to show. Marcus didn't just ask questions, he dissected testimonies with surgical precision. He cited obscure legal clauses from memory. He identified inconsistencies in witness statements that Ms. Davies, the veteran prosecutor, had overlooked. He used legal terminology with unnerving fluency and eloquence, politely correcting the judge on a procedural point at one juncture, citing a specific rule number. Judge Harrison grew increasingly flustered. His initial amusement curdled into annoyance, then disbelief. "Mr. Thorne," he barked at one point, "where did you learn all this? A TV show?" Marcus simply offered a small, enigmatic smile. "Extensive study, Your Honor." The climax came during Marcus's closing argument. He didn't just defend himself, he systematically dismantled the prosecution's entire case, revealing a pattern of overreach and neglect for due process. He spoke not just of his innocence, but of the systemic issues that led young men like him to be unfairly targeted, his voice resonating with passion and undeniable truth. He concluded with a poignant quote from a landmark civil rights case, tying it seamlessly to his minor disturbance charge. The courtroom was utterly silent, captivated. Even Miss Davies looked stunned. Judge Harrison, however, was boiling. He brought his gavel down with a sharp crack. "Mr. Thorne, while your performance has been unexpectedly theatrical, you are treading on very thin ice. This court is not a stage for your adolescent grandstanding." Marcus met the judge's furious gaze, and for the first time, his calm facade broke just a fraction, revealing a glint of something powerful. Not anger, but profound conviction. "Your Honor," he said, his voice ringing clearly, "with all due respect, perhaps the grandstanding is not mine, but the system's. And perhaps this court would benefit from remembering that justice is not reserved for those who fit a certain mold." Just as Judge Harrison was about to unleash a furious retort, the courtroom doors opened. A distinguished elderly man, impeccably dressed and carrying a briefcase, hurried in. He made a beeline for the judge's bench. "My apologies for the interruption, Your Honor," the man whispered urgently, handing a document to a bewildered bailiff, who then passed it to the judge. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding. My protege, Mr. Thorne, should not be here. He's supposed to be addressing the State Bar Admissions Committee this morning." Judge Harrison took the document, his brow furrowed. As he read it, his eyes widened, his face draining of color. He looked from the document to the distinguished man, then back to Marcus, who was now offering a subtle, almost imperceptible nod to the newcomer. Sirima, the document was an official letter, not from the State Bar Admissions Committee for a new lawyer, but from the National Association of Constitutional Lawyers, recognizing Marcus Thorne, Esquire, for winning their prestigious Young Jurist Award, a commendation for exceptional legal analysis in a recent mock Supreme Court case. The letter also highlighted his recent graduation from a top law school, summa cum laude, at an unprecedented young age, and the fact that he was already working as a consultant on high-profile cases. The distinguished man, a renowned legal scholar, cleared his throat. "Your Honor, I believe you know my former student, Marcus Thorne. He's due to take the state bar exam next month, but he's already accepted a position at my firm, pending formal admission. He's been observing various court proceedings for his thesis." He paused, a wry smile touching his lips, "and apparently doing some pro bono work." Judge Harrison stared at Marcus, the teenager in a hoodie, the PlayStation consultant, the adolescent grandstander. His face was a contorted mask of shock, shame, and dawning horror. The genius attorney he had just mocked, belittled, and dismissed was not only incredibly intelligent, but already a rising star in the legal world, and arguably more accomplished than many lawyers twice his age. The gavel sat silent. The moral message hung heavy in the air. Never judge a book by its cover, especially when that cover is a hoodie and the book is a legal prodigy. Justice, it seemed, had a very unexpected way of balancing the scales, not just for Marcus, but for the judge's own ingrained prejudices.